Okay, in the short term this week, you have a few projects you're doing. You're going to have your last uh, coach meeting next week. So to finish your worksheet about your focus project. So your focus project is in the middle of the very important time for this week and next week. Because you're meeting your coaches twice, last week and this week, this coming week. You'll be finishing discussion about your focus project and try to finish the worksheet. Um, the second one is the Ignite Talks taping. If you already finished your Ignite Talk video and gave it to the summit, you can use the same video. But if you did not do the video, you can do the video now for the next few days. You need to submit your video before Wednesday. So you have to do it on Monday or Tuesday or tomorrow. So that on Wednesday you'll be finished. Yeah, Fred.
Uh, for I had submitted mine. So is there need for me to resubmit really?
Yes.
Yes, you have to resubmit to us. You submitted to IREX. So there's also another. I think there's instructions about how to submit by email.
Okay.
Look at that email. If you have questions, let me know.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So you already submitted. You finished. So that's good. So that's the second one, Ignite Talk video. So after everyone finished, because we have 24 of you here for Bridgewater, with Bridgewater, so everyone would have their video and we will watch the video and other people's ideas and their goals. And then we will do a voting of the top 3 videos will be shown in our institute. But everyone can still watch the other videos. So everyone can still watch. We just have more time for those top three to speak in the last day. Yeah. So that's the second project. The third one is the one that we're going to talk about now, is the community service commitment. The reason why you do have to do presentations is that because you're not in the US, you cannot go to an agency and serve the people. You cannot really serve the people. So the way you serve the people is to give your personal insight and ideas to tell people in the US about how you do things in Africa. So it's a sharing of your ideas and expertise as a community service. The first one was just, one-sided last week when the Department of Children and Families just tell you what they did and you answer questions. And this time, hopefully, we will start with you. You tell the US what you're doing first, and then they will ask you questions. Dr. Solomon asked each of the groups to present for 15 minutes. If it goes beyond 15 minutes, that's okay. 18 minutes, I think will. So in average, 3 minutes for each of you. Some people might speak a little bit longer. Some people might just need 2 minutes. That's okay. So 2 to 3 minutes, each person's 15 to 18 minutes, be less than 20 minutes for the whole group. I will be there, and another person or people, 1 or 2 other people from the agencies will be there. The agencies can tell you about US youth violence, gun violence, and how to deal with the problem in the US. So you'll hear from you first. So what I'm suggesting is that everyone would speak, everyone would give a short PowerPoint if you want to use PowerPoint. But if you don't want to use PowerPoint, you still have 2 or 3 minutes. Now I'm thinking about maybe using, as Fred talked about, maybe using the larger structure first for people to talk about the national and issues in your country from that perspective, and then to go to the local perspective. And also you focusing on the international and national, like terrorism first, or the bigger issue like political violence. wars or terrorism or conflict, military conflict, or sectarian conflict, tribal conflict, that kind of a big picture first, and then get to crime or sexual violence. You know, there are different kinds of gun violence. There are also, you know, some are relating to just property or theft, or, you know, or gangs. I don't know how you relate to gangs in Africa versus the United States. So that's just some of my thinking, but you can, and then we can go to the last two would be education. How to reduce gun violence, reduce youth violence in schools and in education. So our friend, teacher and librarian can speak the last because they can talk about education. But our police officers here, our county commissioner here, and our education anti-corruption bureau officer here can start. And also our friend from Cape Verde, Kathleen, also works with the forensic police department, and she works with radiology to investigate the crime scenes. So she can do her part after the, you know, maybe been to talk about policing. So I'm thinking about your role, you know, and then say who goes first. You just have to structure. You know, we have 6 people speaking, so you just have to place them in order and talk about your different focus. How do you define? Do you define violence more as gun violence in Africa, or do you define violence as just violence? And it could be knives, could be just fighting, and is using guns very easy in your country or very difficult?
In Tanzania, I've tried to ask some friends from police department, but it's, you know, like, I don't know, it's a matter of literacy or it's privacy. There is few data on things of violence, especially with gun violence. There is few data on it, and they don't expose it to people. Now, I don't know if it's a privacy issue, because I even, he had directed me to go to, I'll find data at the police website, but yet I went there and still, whenever you find data, it's not there. So I think we define just violence as a matter of fighting. Maybe there is this of marital violence, like people who are in marriage do fight, and some of them go to police and report, but some of them don't report just because of the norms, like you need to hide things happening to your family to stays in the family. So I'll try to find more information of my country, but I know there are people who are ready maybe to tell me, but somehow may be confidential.
Yeah, but I think you raise a good point, Sarah, because you can focus more on family violence, and other people can focus more on community violence. So they can talk about their town data, their district, their rural area, what's the rate of you know, violence or murder or things like that, and what are some the crime data or some sectarian violence, or you know, whether there's, because I think Thread earlier said maybe even terrorism and wars might affect part of the countries. Burkina Faso has been in the news because of your wars and your terrorism. So is it close to where you live, about the instability area? Are you in are you living in a place where it's safe, or are you living in a place where there's a lot of violence?
Actually, my place is safe because they have a card. In terms of safeness, we have in the color green, but I'm not far from unsafe place because there is something like 80 miles from our place actually. And the difficulties actually is that some population leave the unsafe place to come in our place. So we are faced to good person or terrorists who come to looking for a place to stay because they say their home, their town is not safe again. So actually my place, we can say that it's safe place, but they are taking more place. I can say terrorists is coming more and more in town. So it's look like nobody solution. We are doing our best to fight because actually for the police, it is to secure population in a safe place. So most of time they used to post, there are military, there are something like that, other force that they call gendarmerie. So there are 3 forces who is in this unsafe place to secure people and to defend, if I can say, the country.
Right. I think being someone working in the police, force, you can give a very broad discussion about your national problem and the security, national security and regional security. And I think Fred also about Kenya and what are some.
I have a question. So
yeah.
Can I talk? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. It's to expose the situation and it's to say how we can we fight against terrorists actually. Situation in Burkina Faso actually with terrorism, or how we prevent gun violence in Burkina Faso.
I think it's both. It's both.
Mm-hmm.
You have to define the problem of security first. If the country is facing violence and security, so what is the problem of violence and what's the problem of security in your countries?
Okay.
And how are you addressing those? And are they caused by guns and also other forms of weapons? And how do you reduce that kind of problems about violence and security? How do you protect people? So those are all a part of what you can talk about.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. You can define how you want to present.
Okay. Thank you. No, it's good. Thank you. I think I can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Fred?
Actually, I spent most part of the day trying to work on this particular assignment, just to have, I can share and give an overview of what I've done so far.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is it's a PowerPoint presentation, but of course it's draft, so we can be able to work on it with the time between now and the final date. So after defining gun violence, I looked at what are the forms of gun violence in Kenya. We have, for example, we have burglary in the urban centers. Yeah, we have cattle rustling in the rural areas, especially the northern parts of Kenya. We've witnessed a few mass shootings. We've had suicides from officers. We've had homicides as form of violence. Yeah, we've also had school shootings, like there was one that happened at a local university where people were basically massacred. So all these are forms of violence. But I will zero in on 2, which I think are the major ones in Kenya, because we have the burglaries that occur in the urban areas like Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, Nakuru, and the other towns. And then we have the cattle rustling, which basically affects 11 of the 47 counties in this country. But these 11 counties cover approximately 65% of the land mass. So they are very vast in nature, those sparsely populated, but they're the ones which normally face cattle rustling as a challenge. So my focus will be on these two particular forms of violence. What challenges do we face as security agencies? What are the impacts of these forms of violence? Yeah, and I'm trying to basically, do a comparative sort of analysis where we look at the urban areas, we look at gun violence in the urban areas and gun violence in the rural areas. Then we look at the causes, because probably the causation of violence in the urban area may not necessarily be the same as that in the rural area.
Rural.
Sorry?
No, I said it may be different with the rural urban thing.
Yeah, especially in our area, from what we've observed, it's very different. You know, the youth in the urban areas will look for guns because they are unemployed.
Yeah.
You see? So someone is trying to earn a living. But
And
the
they are
youth
exposed to
area
guns.
will go for guns not because they're unemployed, but because of their retrogressive culture, such as cattle rustling. You know, because in Kenya, there are communities where if a young man wants to marry, he'll be told to bring in 30 heads of cattle as dowry. Where will this young man get 30 heads of? The only option left for this young man is for him to mobilize his fellow Morans. Then they go and cattle from the neighboring community. Then they can be able to deliver that as dowry to the bride's family.
Okay.
What happens is, after doing that, the victims in this particular case will be like, no, we can't be the ones on the losing end. They also arm themselves and retaliate. Then it becomes now a tug war, back and forth. Another challenge that we get in the northern parts of the country is it is mainly arid and semi-arid. So during the dry seasons, they tend to lose a lot of their livestock because they tend to overstock. So they lose a lot of their livestock. When the rainy season begin, someone had 1,000 heads of cattle or 1,000 goats. He has lost half of them. He wants to restock. What better way for it to restock than to go and steal from the neighboring community? So it becomes a cycle, you understand? So the challenge is that the causations, the root cause of gun violence in the northern parts of the country, in the rural areas, are very different from the cause of gun violence within the centers. So that's what I want to also focus on. While doing that, I thought of also outlining which kind of weapons do we have in the country. Yeah, when talk about gun violence, you know, there are various caliber of weapons that are found globally. But in Kenya, we have a specific list that are very common. Someone will either have a Siska gun or a revolver pistol or a Jericho gun, or you'll have an G3, or you'll have an M16 or a AK-47. Those are the ones that we normally encounter. We've never seen any out of those particular lists. You see, what my friend Sarah mentioned about information not being given out, that is true. It's a challenge that if she's not uniformed, if she's a civilian, I'm very sure that they will not be able to really give that information to her. But one way or another, she may be able to get it. Yeah. For example, in our case, we are talking about, in Kenya, we have 650,000 small arms in the country. But out of this, a paltry 8,000 are licensed. So it means we're having over 600,000 which are not licensed. Yeah. So as a result of that, the cabinet secretary in charge of internal security or interior, he gave an instruction, I think earlier this year, that all small private arm holders surrender their guns back to the central bureau so that they can be reassessed and re-evaluated, so that those who got their guns legally can be able to get them back, but those who did not will not get it. While at the same time, as we are doing that, we are also going after the illegal holders, especially the ones who use them for cattle rustling. We've given them amnesty. We normally give them an amnesty of maybe a few weeks or a month to surrender the guns. If they do so during that period of time, then we simply receive the guns, and if for those who can be rehabilitated, they're rehabilitated, but they're normally pardoned. But the ones who fail to adhere to the amnesty, it means they're not cooperative. So when they're not cooperative, we tend to use other means to get the guns from them. And these guns, once we confiscate them from the suspects, we ensure that they are all serialized or they are all put in the inventory. And once or twice in a year, a ceremony is held where they are all burned or destroyed publicly for the rest of the country to see, to stop the circulation of these illicit guns. So it's a myriad of issues, but that is what I can share for now, sir.
Sir Fred, in your country, do people made the traditional guns?
That has not really been a challenge, fortunately for us. But the problem is we have proliferation of arms from other countries. You know, and unlike you who border us and we are stable, we happen to border countries that are not stable. We have Somalia to our east. Somalia is not stable.
Yeah.
We have Ethiopia to the north, and the southern parts of Ethiopia are not stable. We have South Sudan to the northwest part. South Sudan, we all know the story. Uganda, the northern part of Uganda, is basically a bandit country. Of course, we also have we have Congo on the other side of Uganda. So these countries have become sources of illicit guns into our country. Yeah, people tend to bring them in, and we can't fail to also blame the law enforcement officers, because some of them are corrupt. Yeah. And corrupt acts allow the traders, the illegal gun traders, to basically bring these arms into the country. Now that is as far as the northern parts, the rural parts are concerned. What about the urban parts? We've had cases where the police officers are the ones who are involved in hiring out their guns to the gangsters at a fee. If somebody gives you a gun, and an officer gives you a government serialized gun, and the agreement is, if you're going to use it, at the end of the day, you're supposed to bring him a certain amount of money
that you stole from a event.
Exactly. He doesn't care the life that could be lost by giving this gun to a bandit. So that's another challenge that we face while in the urban setup. In rural setup, you can see the story is very different.
Okay.
You put a lot of thoughts on it. Yeah. I think you need more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, I have
we'll
too
change
much
the format, give
information.
you 5 minutes or more.
That will be enough, sir. I think that's all I'll have to say, sir. I'll be brief. We are 6 of us, so we have to share.
Right. If you can share the PowerPoint to the WhatsApp group, so people can start adding the slides. How many slides have you finished so far?
They are 12 in total. That is for the whole thing.
How many?
12 slides, sir.
12 slides. 12.
Yeah.
12 would take about 5 minutes at least. Yeah. So 12 is okay. Please, if you can get it less than 10 and combine them or change that to 7 or 8, that would work better. And I think everyone normally would do 4 slides, 4 to 5, and that would make a good presentation. But if there's a lot of information, some people, I know that for this topic, Safred and Bintu are more experts because they are in the policing and security field. So both of you can speak a little bit longer, and the other people can be participating in the discussion a little bit more. And they just focus on one area, maybe Sarah just focus on family violence or you know, about her work, and Kelly may be talking about the crime scene and things like that, and then our two other colleagues will talk about education, how to reduce violence, and they can just do 3 slides or something like that, 2 or 3 slides.
I think maybe it will be good if I'll talk on how, because I remember there was one director general in my organization who came from, he was a police commissioner. Then he said he went to FBI University, the academy. Then he said he was anti-terrorism commissioner. Said he realized corruption is the big challenge into African security. It's not even terrorism, only corruption that makes all this terrorism to happen, gun violence to happen. So I think I'll talk more on how corruption do harm to or emphasize that the gun violence, as well as how we can go about, like which ways should we advise, like you said, we should come with better ways to how best can school children as well as youth not put themselves into guns, possession of guns, as well as into some certain of violence, because you know some of them youth are the ones that steer up, like what you say, the kettles, like you need to pay door repayment. And where should you get those cows? Because you are young, you don't own cattle as your parents do. So you go and steal to another place. You are the ones that bringing this thing of conflict between two places. Like you are the ones go to start a conflict from another neighbor place to take their cows. So I think I'll talk more on corruption.
Okay.
And how it affects or that generates the violence in a country.
Right. I think Sir Fred also mentioned corruption earlier. So you can follow him after he finished. I don't know if Bintu wants to start from your first one to present and talk about national security. And I know that both you and Sir Fred will be talking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How's the situation in Burkina Faso? Do you have information about statistics about gun violence and statistics about violence and murders and everything, all the data?
Yes, I can find it. In the morning, I'm trying to mobilize some data, but I can find it for tomorrow. But I have a little question. It's for Tuesday, this next Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
We have our religious party this day. I think most of African countries are this party to eat kiwi on this day. I don't know if the host, those who organize, take it in their account to organize it, or this is not a problem.
The Eid in my country, Eid will be on Wednesday, on 21st.
Different.
In my country, it is on Tuesday.
Yours is on Tuesday.
I know that most of West African country is on Tuesday.
But the culture presentation will be on Thursday, on 22nd.
Yeah, the community service. So the Tuesday sessions, I will record it, and you can watch it on Wednesday. And I will tell the government that it's fine because of your cultural and religious celebration.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we should have just originally I thought that Wednesday would be okay, but Wednesday also not good for but they decided to do it on Tuesday instead of Wednesday because of the guests we invite on Tuesday. She's only available on Tuesday. And also the COVID-19 discussion, if you miss it, that's fine. You know, on Tuesday, we can. It's not a big deal. That first hour.
Okay.
It's just the second hour. There's a guest to talk about, and you can watch that after that. Yeah. So everyone who cannot attend on Tuesday can tell me, and then I can tell people that you're excused. Yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, so I am saying that I can find some data about terrorists because that's begun since 2004 and 40 in our country, and it is going more and more, it increasing. So I can find it, I can do a big, little presentation. Maybe if it is not in PowerPoint, I think that I can prepare it and just talk and give you some data about it, what's the situation and what we're doing. I can give you a little example of what we're doing. Last month, I am trainer in police force. So they used to go in unsafe place to be in contact with ladies, to talk with them about security. In my application, I talk about approach population. So we convince them that how to fight against gun violence, because we notice that nowadays terrorists, most of boy of the population who is in unsecurity place is in this unsecurity is terrorists. If I can say it, how can I explain? If you go in a family, there is a place that we call in Sahel, Dori, for example. In each family, you can find that one of these members is part of terrorist group, and their family know. But sometimes they went there because, but it's not in own decision, because they force them. If you don't come with us, we're gonna do something. We're gonna kill off all the members of your family. So that's the problem. If you wanna fight, we police force, we cannot use only gun or force to approach them, to go and say, okay, we're gonna kill them. But their family is there. Their family is still there. So it's something, maybe you go and you say, okay, we're gonna do something. Still children, there are still a mother in the family. Maybe they leave their place for a moment, they're gonna come back and the situation can continue. So we're looking for a way to talk with this family to bring back their boy at home. Maybe to go in the police officer place, in that we can offer them some security. Maybe you can change them places or reconvert them to other things in order to convince them to give up what he doing. So what's we doing actually for to fight against terrorism, especially in our police.
Yeah. Again, I think unfortunately, Burkina Faso and Somalia, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Cameroon, these are some countries that have a lot of security issues. And if you're near there or from those countries, you face more problems, not just because of the civil war in Sudan or the big Rwanda, that kind of magnitude in the past, like genocide or killing the whole population, but Boko Haram in Nigeria, and also the instability in Ethiopia and especially in Somalia did affect Kenya, and Burkina Faso, has been in the news recently also about your national security. So I think it's good to give a broad perspective about some of the crisis in West Africa and East Africa, and then go on to the national solutions and your department's solution about your job. Being the trainer of the police force and being the assistant county commissioner. How do you support other people in protecting their people and bringing them away from violence? So those are some of the things, and whether you can solve the gun problems. And so Fred has some ideas. You can also talk about that. So I'm suggesting it's not just about guns; it's a bigger issue. And of course, gun violence is in the U.S. is a different context. We're talking about people have the right to have guns.
Possess.
Possess. Second Amendment. Amendment having this rights to bear arms, and the Republicans and the Democrats have different opinions about whether you can have guns or not. So because you're in Massachusetts with us, most people are against guns. Our gun laws are stricter. So our gun violence is less than Texas or Florida or other states. So I think we just have to talk about that debate in our country. And in some neighborhood near Bridgewater State, there are more crimes, and because of some issues. And so that's why the YMCA, the group that you're going to meet, they're going to talk about making sure that young people don't have guns and they're not going into violent acts with each other. So so it will be less level, not talking about the national security, but it's a national problem of having too many people having guns in the US. I like, so basically there are 2 or 3 focus here. One is the national security problem, about terrorism. The second is the regional security problem, or your locality's security problem, about crime, about as Fred said about the urban-rural differences, and then finally from the family level and from the corruption level and from education level, how each of you can talk about what are the solutions, what are some of the ideas that we can reduce it. Maybe reduce corruption, improve the conflict resolution in the families and in the communities, provide economic support for the people so they're not trying to take away other things and from other people, and reduce the burglaries.
And somehow gun violence has to be termed as a public healthy sort of
public
crime.
health problem.
Yeah, because people who endure and get themselves into gun violence, or some of them are not even mentally fit. Some of them, they experience a source of isolation. Some of them they're lonely, and there's a lot of things that happening to people's healthy. That's why they get into violence, because we say gun violence sometimes is not so far with other violence. There's a domestic violence. These kind of things, they are the ones that trigger a person to even go and possess a gun, so that they can fulfill their idea of having somebody hurt.
Yes, so Fred.
In addition to what Sarah just said, I think we cannot fail to talk about gun violence without talking about the impact, the role that COVID-19 has played. It played a tremendous role, especially when talk about gun violence in the urban areas. Due to COVID pandemic restrictions, so many people lost their jobs. We had a lot of people furloughed from their jobs, layoffs are there. sent on compulsory leaves. So because of that, there was need for guys to survive. And there is no better way for the youth to survive than to think about how do I get a gun and steal from the haves. So there's a class war, the haves and the have-nots. Yeah, we are beginning to realize that in Kenya. And another thing that we may not leave out is the role of politics in this. Yeah, whenever we are approaching general elections, like Kenya is approaching an election next year, already the mood is so polarized and people are already feeling not so safe. Yeah, when you don't feel safe because of where you happen to reside, maybe I am from tribe X and I'm living within or among community Z, and I know that politically our tribes are not politically, ideologically inclined on the same. So the only thing is, I know if these people are going to be violent next year, I need to protect myself. So what do? I'd rather sell one goat for a few shillings, get a gun and keep in my house just for the sake of it. So I think we may want to also bring those 2 points on board. The role of COVID-19 pandemic in gun violence and also political inclination, political reasons. That's how I can say.
Yeah, again, from very broad international and national issues to the public health, to the issue of urban and rural differences about the issues of gun violence, and then to the issues of public health and COVID-19, and to the issues of corruption. So there are many factors that affect the appearance of violence and also crime and also guns. So I think that really helpful. I don't know if Sarah and Bintu want to use PowerPoint or not. Can you think about that? And if you want to use PowerPoint, you can do the PowerPoint in the next 2 days, today or tomorrow, and Monday, something like that, to add to the PowerPoint. But my recommendation is to do this order, maybe Bintu the first one, and then Fred second, Sarah third, or Kathleen third, one of you. And then the 5 and 6 would be the librarian and the education. They just say a little bit about how to get young people to be educated.
Then I was thinking like, maybe we should do, even if we are doing our PowerPoint presentation, we should compile it to be one presentation and give us each other time to talk or present. Like maybe Sir Fred will have that, the whole PowerPoint, and he will share it with his screen. Then we'll be talking like, okay, maybe Bintu will start. We'll have the overview and talk a little bit about Burkina Faso, then goes to Sir Fred, talk about maybe the 4th slide to 8th slide is Sir Fred, maybe the 10th slide to 14 is mine. Then until the end, we have only one presentation, maybe with 20 slides or 15 slides. Yeah, that would be nice, rather than everyone sharing the
yeah, it takes too much time to go from one to the other. It just you just lose time. So when you finish, just send this to the WhatsApp group or send this to Fred, so Fred directly, and then he will. Can you help people to combine the slides? Yeah, if you can, that would be good. So I'll rely on you to do that, to combine the slides for the group. Can 3 of you also contact Kathleen, and the other 3 just summarize it on the WhatsApp group? I have you to do it instead of me, so my job is to moderate, but not to do it for you. So you can ask them to think about their role. So I think Kathleen is she's doing technology like radiology or forensic evidence about crime. We just have to understand what she does. Do you know if she's doing? I think she's trying to understand radiology, but she's not a doctor. She's in the police. Because we have two groups of medical people. We have doctors. We also have people who work in science. I think she works in science and scientific evidence. In your work, do you use scientists to do the crime scene investigation? Do you have the need to have some science? Yeah.
Whose question? Who's to answer that?
Bintu, you want to say that?
Of course. The question is for me or for Fred? I'm sorry, I had a problem with my connection, so I didn't hear you good. The question is for me or for Fred?
No, it's for anyone, you know, about, because Kathleen, we're trying to ask Kathleen to say something from Cape Verde. So she's from Cape Verde, but she also works with the police. I think she works on radiology or crime scene. We can ask her. Why don't you ask her what she's working on? Because she can coordinate with both of you and talk about the police also. I know she has connection problem. I don't know if she can hear me.
Okay, so if I can be able to respond to that in as far as my country is concerned, of course we use technology when it comes to matters investigations. For example, on gun violence, we have what we call ballistics for forensics. Yeah, which fall under a special branch of the police called the DCI, Directorate of Criminal Investigations. Yeah, so that particular directorate within the National Police Service, there is a department that deals with ballistic forensics, so that if maybe someone has been killed somewhere or attacked somewhere, they can be able to do proper analysis and look at the weapons that have been used or the shells of the as in the shells of the gun, the bullet, right? And from that, you can be able to tell, you know, from which kind of a weapon that was the bullet came from, and if it is licensed or not, if it's government or it's not. There's so much that we normally do. Then apart from that, we also introduced cards. We have what we call Huduma cards, which are national ID cards, but they also have some electronic chippings in them, which we can use to track people, so that if somebody was involved in a crime somewhere, we can be able to get to use that, activate that, and know where they are. We are trying to embrace technology in terms of fingerprints. We use that often. We are yet to really involve the use of DNA, as you know, because it's very expensive.
Yeah.
For the time being, DNA is only used on serious crimes, like maybe when there's rape or when somebody's banned beyond recognition, so we need to get to know their genealogy. That's where DNA comes in. But we've not really used them at advanced level, right? So that is, in a nutshell, what we basically do as far as technology is concerned.
Yeah, I asked this question just because I'm thinking about what do we ask Kathleen to speak about, and we can ask her to speak about technology if that's her focus, about reducing crime or solving crimes, but we can ask her, you know, and if she wants to talk about what she wants to talk about, because I don't know, I have to look at her biography a little bit more. She's the other person from Cape Verde. Yeah, so what I know is that Bello cannot talk about that. He's a teacher, so I'm not going to ask a teacher to talk about gun violence too much. Yeah. I think he didn't know which group to pick, so he just didn't pick. So he's in this group. Yes.
Can I say something, sir? Bello is a teacher in Cameroon.
Yes.
And Cameroon, as we know, is affected by violence because it is basically split almost into three. We have the northern and the southern parts of Cameroon. the Francophones and the Anglophone
Yes.
politics.
Right.
So, and I think he can basically be able to tell us how that violence has affected the education in that particular country. So yes, I think he should be able to tell us more about that.
That's good. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of conflict between the Francophone and the Anglophone, and also terrorism in Cameroon as well. Yeah, so I think that works. Yeah, Cameroon. Maybe he can. Yeah, so you can all look at all the ask the people, the 3 people who are not here, to summarize what we talk about, but also ask them to discuss their what topic they want to say about gun violence. Yeah. Okay, so I think that we have a plan. 3 of you, because you are here, you speak first. 3 of them who cannot join us for the discussion, they speak the next 3. And they can connect to what you 3 want to say, but they can add to it. If Bello wants to talk about terrorism, to follow what Bintu and Shafred talk about already, he can talk about Cameroon's situation. If if Kathleen wants to talk about police, then she can also follow what Bintu and Shafred you're talking. For corruption, Sarah, if Himiwa wants to talk about education and I don't know Zambia's situation, but she can follow that and talk about her country also. Yeah, so basically really the technical information about security and police and guns, there's also the society reaction to it. And the society reaction to it, solution to it could be people who are not in the field, they can talk about that. I think that we have a plan, right?
Yeah, I think we have all understood on how to present ourselves and present the community service practice. And I'm sure we'll prepare ourselves well and present something useful to help the YMCA get a nutshell of how gun violence in Africa may be different with the gun violence in America.
Yes. Great. I enjoyed this today, having a chance to talk to 3 of you more, because we're all in the big group. Yeah, Shafred.
I'm seeking clarification. When is the deadline for them to submit to make the submissions to me in terms of their PowerPoints?
Why don't you decide it, 3 of you? When do you want to?
Monday will be, because we are going to start again our tedious week. So I think maybe people should use their time pretty well. So Monday should be the deadline to have all the things compiled with Fred.
Are we presenting on Tuesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
You're presenting on Thursday, but they give you information on Monday night, and you can spend Tuesday to organize it. And then on Wednesday, if people are available to answer questions, you can discuss that on Wednesday.
Okay.
So you gather the information on Monday, and then you do the organization on Tuesday, and everyone discuss that on Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, on WhatsApp.
Thank you.
Yeah, discuss that on Wednesday. Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So nice talking to all of you. So
thank you very much for organizing today's meeting, Sir Fred, as well as
yeah, it's nice talking to all of you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.